Minister's forthcoming visit to Russia. It's going to be a short visit, just 36 hours. He will arrive in Vladivostok on the 4th September morning and depart from Vladivostok on 5th September evening. And there are two main purposes for this visit. He has been invited to attend the Eastern Economic Forum by President Putin as one of the chief guests. And secondly, he will also hold the 20th annual summit between India and Russia. The previous editions of the Eastern Economic Forum, this is a forum started by Russia in 2015, have been attended by our former Commerce and Industry Minister in 2018 and our former External Affairs Minister in 2017. So we've had regular high-level, political level attendance at this Eastern Economic Forum. Before I get into some of the details of the two elements of the visit, I wanted to share some of the program elements. In the forenoon, after he arrives, the President and the Prime Minister will make a joint visit to one of their major shipbuilding yards. This is a plant that makes vessels including icebreakers and oil tankers. So the two leaders will go together to see this plant. And then in the afternoon of the 4th, there will be restricted and delegation level talks followed by dinner. On the 5th morning, there will be some bilaterals. The head of state of Mongolia and the prime ministers of Japan and Malaysia will also be attending the Eastern Economic Forum, but at this stage I'm not in a position to confirm which of these bilaterals will take place, but they will take place, some of them. And subsequently in the afternoon is the Eastern Economic Forum plenary meeting, and then just before Prime Minister departs, President Putin and PM will jointly visit a major judo championship which is taking place in Vladivostok before PM returns back to Delhi. There is actually a 6-member Indian judo team in Vladivostok also participating in this championship. It is an international championship. The Eastern Economic Forum, as I mentioned, is an event they've been holding since 2015 every year in Vladivostok. The main event is, of course, in St. Petersburg every May. And the Prime Minister will deliver an address. There will also be an India-Russia business dialogue, and for this a 50-member FICCI delegation is also going to be in Vladivostok at the same time. You will recall that the Deputy Prime Minister in charge of the Far East and Arctic Affairs, Deputy Prime Minister Trutnev, had come to India on 20th of June to prepare for Prime Minister's visit. And subsequent to that, a very high-powered government and business delegation had visited Vladivostok on the 11th and 12th of August. This included chief ministers of 4 states of Gujarat, Goa, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, and our Commerce and Industry Minister Shri Piyush Goyal. They were accompanied by a business delegation of almost 150 business persons, and this was a clear intent on part of our government to show that we attach importance to the Russian Far East as an area where we can do business, as well as an area of geopolitical importance to us in the context of the Indo-Pacific. There was a roundtable that chief ministers had. 11 governors of Russian provinces attended. Several MOUs were signed. A number of Russian companies participated. So we demonstrated a seriousness of intent in engaging with the Russian Far East, with which we have had relatively limited economic and commercial contact, because our focus has mostly been either Europe and Russia or the area just north of the Central Asian republics. Of course, among the potential sectors are coking coal, obviously oil and gas, diamonds, timber, tourism, and from our perspective, we are also looking at the possibility of farming and also of manpower exports. There is a serious shortage of manpower in that part of the world. And as I said, the Eastern Economic Forum therefore gains in importance not only because we would like to develop strong economic and commercial relations. Many of the resources are something India needs in the near future, but it is also because of the opening of the Northern Sea route, the Arctic route to Europe, which because of climate change and global warming is now much easily accessed as compared to even 20 or 30 years ago, and also the possibility of oil and gas supplies from the Arctic. So there are a number of reasons why we are looking at the Eastern Economic Forum, and this is why Prime Minister readily agreed to President Putin's invitation. The annual summit, of course, is also taking place in Vladivostok. The last one was in Delhi on the 5th of October last year, and since then the two leaders have met 4 times, twice at the G20 in Buenos Aires and Osaka, at the SCO summit in Bishkek, and at the East Asia summit last November in Singapore. We have had fairly intensive political interaction since the last summit. From the Russian side, we've had Defense Minister Shoigu. We've had 2 deputy prime ministers after the government reassumed office, which is Deputy Prime Minister Trutnev, whom I had mentioned, and Deputy Prime Minister Borisov, who is the head of the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission. We've had the Speaker of the Russian Duma, or the Russian Parliament, and we've had their NSA as well. From our side, of course, last week we had External Affairs Minister, who visited at the invitation of Lavrov. We had the NSA, who has gone earlier in July. We had the Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, who has just returned. And of course, Commerce and Industry Minister, I mentioned, visited Vladivostok along with the 4 chief ministers. So fairly intensive political interaction in the last 1 year, and particularly after the government has assumed office for the 2nd time. We have a very special relationship with Russia. The annual summits are occasions to look at the entire gamut, principally focusing on bilateral relations. I think there is an intent on the part of both leaders, and Prime Minister has said this on a number of times. We need to broaden the relationship with Russia beyond civil, nuclear and defense into other areas of the economy. And one of the reasons why this very sizable government come business delegation went to Vladivostok was precisely to fulfill that objective. So there will obviously be discussions on that in those areas. Obviously, oil and gas is a major sector for us. That will be covered. Space is a major area for us. The Russian government has extended cooperation on our Gaganyaan program. That is an important area for us. The railway sector is important. We are in the process of finalizing a feasibility report, or rather the Russians are in the process of finalizing a feasibility report for some sectors for speed raising on some sectors. And obviously there will inevitably be discussion on how we can work better in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, in RIC, that is Russia, India, China, and in BRICS. And as you know, the BRICS summit is coming up down the road. If time is available, obviously certain important regional issues will be discussed. That includes the situation in the Gulf, discussions on DPRK, and of course the fast evolving situation in Afghanistan. Obviously we expect a number of concrete outcomes. There is the inevitable joint statement will of course be there, but more important than that will be a roadmap on hydrocarbon cooperation, a 5-year roadmap laying out what possibilities we have in cooperating in oil and gas, both in terms of exploration and exploitation and in terms of purchase in the 5-year time frame 2019 to 2024, as we seek to diversify our oil and gas supplies beyond complete dependency in the Gulf. Some specific letters of intent will also be signed between Indian public sector companies and Russian entities for development of oil and gas fields. I will leave the details for the Prime Minister's press statement, so I will not disclose that at the moment. A number of MOUs are expected to be signed between Coal India and the Russian counterpart for export of coking coal and for cooperation in the mining sector, between the Steel Authority of India Limited and the Russian counterpart for import of metallurgical coal, on audiovisual, in the area of audiovisual co-production in the power sector, in developing a maritime route between Chennai and Vladivostok, and a number of business MOUs also, 8 or 10 of them in fairly important areas. I won't go into those details. I'm sure that these will be covered in the press statement. So essentially, this is the broad outline of the Prime Minister's program and of the agenda when he visits Russia.